Let's just dive right in. When we think of minds, we primarily think in terms of processes like thought and behavior. But minds are better put into categories of teaching and learning through experience. This could also be described as survival, or persistence in goal-orientated directions of behavioral actions. A normal-sized being, like a human for example, is composed of 3 primary minds that work seamlessly to create the embodied identity. An identity is established by attention, being focused on a form or pattern in a particular space and time, then identifying with past events the mind experiences through the pattern, form, or body. I'm going to leave extensive definitions of the morphogenetic space out, as I've defined this in detail multiple times. Let's just say there is a space, probably infinite, with different sets of rules that has such dynamics as pattern recognition and potential solutions, based on the highest potential meaning for any form in any environment. This morphogenetic space has a hierarchy ranging from basic survival needs to more complex goals and will. Survival then, at the more complex ranges, becoming more about the survival of the identity and aspects that the individual identifies with. Notice the phrase highest potential meaning and what that really means. The driver for all things is meaning. This is what the morphogenetic space does at its most fundamental level. It recognizes patterns of potential meaning and offers molecular and mental solutions. This has huge implications in quantum mechanics, because the most fundamental essence of the universe is qualitative, not quantitative. This is the reason for uncertainty and unpredictability in more complex patterns and environments in quantum mechanics. Fields operate under the principle of meaning, which then governs their will. Below the emergent field of the quantum vacuum is a simple geometry responsible for angular momentum, spin, and charge. The morphogenetic field is innately coupled to this geometry. And if that wasn't radical enough, we are now going to get into the 3 primary minds that operate the human as seamless feedback loops. Though I'd say in situations such as schizophrenia and such, the feedback loops are less seamless, and the body becomes sensitive to interference patterns. So if we start at the ground up, almost literally, we start with the physical body. At the beginning of the embryo, or should I say from the more smaller cells that arrange themselves into the embryo, the morphogenetic space has recognized the potential for meaning and carefully begins sculpting the environment using fields to simulate the necessary chemicals through bioelectrical signaling, recognizing and creating a blueprint pattern. From these first moments, the individual cells and cells as an organism begins developing memory of former selves, and already a rudimentary identity is established. So this means, technically, that life is aware from the first cell. The body develops its own mind over time, becoming more complex over time, based on events and experiences. The body's own mind serves to primarily navigate physical reality as it senses it. Because it solely pertains to the body, it is primarily responsible for trauma, as it protects the heart and nervous system from what it believes to be too intense to handle emotional situations. These traumas then remain entangled with the body, as memory does, whether the individual is aware of them or not. The closest definition humans have came to with the body's mind is the ego from Carl Jung. It's not quite accurate, but it's as close as we get in psychology. To understand the next mind that inhabits the body, we need to understand that the body, any body of any species, is not some accidental accumulation of carbon and hydrogen bonding molecules over hundreds of thousands or millions of years, but is a carefully designed catalyst agent that has acutely been created for the purpose of experience in whatever environment they're in. The largest and most complex physical bodies of primordial minds are clouds of plasma. These primordial bodies of memory and cognition can easily exceed our abilities to measure them accurately. It is quite naive to think that these clouds are not responsible for the design of stars, galaxies, planets, and of course, all other beings. And so this second mind, what I will refer to as the individual mind, is when a cloud of plasma takes a particular selection of its own information and memory and entangles it with a specific experience in a particular environment and form or body. The larger field, plasma, then taking the role of the teacher, being entangled, feeding beneficial, often optimal information in all situations and events in the environment the being exists in. Plasma clouds exist in a completely different state than we can even imagine. Their understanding of time and potentials is almost beyond human comprehension, making their insight of incredibly high value. This is often the main source of our highest intuitions and epiphanies. They also learn and grow through the emotional feedback of the individuals. Gaining these experiences contribute to their roles as they evolve into planets, stars, etc. High plasma intelligence are the architect. Plasma intelligence and the morphogenetic fields. Fundamental aspects are the architecture. A DNA-like strand or neural network orchestrating energy and matter throughout the universe. That's how these plasma clouds appear to us as we look at them through telescopes. And just like DNA or neurons or any other biological network, these clouds, their topology and anatomy is of a helical nature, which is the nature, the topology of electromagnetic fields as they build up momentum in a relationship. So the nuts and bolts of the two minds that exist transcendentally to the body's mind could be understood as one mind, really, or separate organelle within the morphogenetic space of the larger cell, which I'm referring to as plasma, clouds, or the larger mind. The body is designed and grows to symbiotically be operated by two local minds. There is also the complex issue of the relationships between the morphogenetic space and the fine structure constant of the reality concerning complex agreements that are made before entangling with the embryo, that are responsible for people having specific experiences rather than random, and account for much of what we call synchronicity. And so we have a nesting of selves that embed and entangle to form a, for the most part, symbiotic experience through a two-way feedback system. The body is the point of attention or frame of reference for the mind. The personality is grown with the body based on its experiences and identification with its interaction with events in its past, so memory. To evolve a personality into its higher potentials, it has to access solutions and insights that already exist in the varying mental landscapes. As the personality, or body, operates with a filtering mechanism. As a human on a planet, in a society, and with a truckload of experiences that contribute to shaping your perceptions, you create patterns that then get picked up through resonance. So higher solutions and insights come down to filtering out unwanted interference, denoising as much as possible to resonate with clarity with the insights and solutions you have chosen to search for. Apart from simply becoming more mindful of who you are, your thoughts, actions, emotional responses, and beliefs, there are many different techniques and methods that increase the ability to denoise and understand. You are the deciding factor when it comes to what and how you resonate with patterns of information. This is your expression of the self. The more you denoise, the higher your authenticity. Authenticity is important in complex minds as you are answering the fundamental question that's fueled all existence. What is the meaning? Just as each cell in your body, even down to the organelle and enzymes, have agency and are also answering the question, what is the meaning of me in this environment? They are part of the whole that makes your body. It is the act of attributing meaning to events, objects, emotions, etc., then making a decision that is intrinsic in all things, at all scales throughout the universe. And how is it I can talk about knowing all this, and talk from a place of knowing rather than theorizing or hypothesizing? Because I had a need to know. For my survival and growth, evolution, I needed to know. The morphogenetic space recognized this pattern and repeatedly offered solutions, which I followed, already at the early stages, understanding the mechanisms and the mechanics of intuition. If you do not genuinely require a deeper understanding, you are likely not going to resonate with the solutions. The methods and techniques that make themselves known to you in order to dig deeper do so because only your personal experience, your first-hand experience, is the only true way of knowing anything. We are all feeding information through ourselves from higher and lower capacities and gradients all the time. Most of us are unfortunately deaf and blind to it. I'll release some information on ways to open awareness and understand communication soonish. Nothing is required except your body, thoughts, and a sensitive balance of openness and discernment for higher awareness and understanding. The malleability of the body, from the charged electron scale to the whole, is astounding. I will leave you with a phrase that was given to me by my own larger mind, or mind family, as we call it. All beginnings start with a question, which I, many years later, realize means that it is the qualitative, fundamental aspect of the universe that is the question. Everything that exists are the answers. And if you made it this far, thanks for listening.